August meeting to order at 11:03 a.m. So we'll take attendance and approve the minutes. Instead of starting on the phone, I figured we'd start here because it'll give some folks a moment or two to start. So I'm joined today, very happy that our vice chair is here.
Yes.
Raymond?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed the last couple, so.
That's all right.
But here today, I flew in today just to be here.
And the weather cooperated for a change.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
All right. So things just go around the table.
Okay, Dan Fuller from Bristol Mountain, TAC member.
Rowena Siculi from I Love New York.
Tom Mulroy, TAC member.
Jan Chesterton, TAC member.
Eleanor Tatum, TAC member.
Jamin Clementi, Division of Tourism.
Lisa Soto, Division of Tourism.
Lizette Montero, ESD.
Marky Wilson, Division of Tourism.
Ross Levi, Division of Tourism.
Great. And do we have any? Oh.
Sage Zark, Division of Tourism.
Very good, Sage. Just in time.
Thank you.
We're just making an introduction. Did anybody come in on the phone?
I haven't heard anyone yet.
No? Anybody there?
Yeah, I haven't heard any beeps.
Okay.
Usually it
All right.
beeps when someone comes in.
Not until the last one, no.
So the other folks who didn't introduce themselves?
Peter Feynman, New York History.
You're hiding behind
Yeah,
Eleanor. I didn't see you. Hi, Peter.
I didn't realize.
And then,
Just introduce yourself.
And I'm Linda Ayers from Finn Partners.
You guys are PR for I Love New York. I trust you had a moment to look over the minutes. If anybody needs an additional copy, Jamin or Lisa could give them to you. Are there any changes to the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
So moved. Have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries and the minutes are approved. So now we'll move into the chairman's report, and I just want to thank you all for your continued support. So we are in spring now and looking forward to a very active spring and summer, which we are going to hear about today. The team here at I Love New York are busy preparing segments and programs across all tourism platforms, events, international summer, advertising, social media, Path Through History, and of course the Tourism Summit in May. And we're going to begin with what we're doing with public relations. And just before I do that, Linda, I just wanted to mention that Gavin is in China. Mark Lee helped put the trip together, and we thank you for that, Mark Lee. And I think it's really exciting that I Love New York is actually in China, which is the fastest growing market for tourism. And I believe it's really we've sent brochures, we've done stuff. I think it's the first time that we're really participating in this show. So, Gavin, your thoughts all of our thoughts are with you, and we appreciate everything you're doing. So it's exciting times for I Love New York. All right, Linda, you ready to jump in?
Okay, sure I am, absolutely.
Update?
And thank you for putting us early on the schedule
Sure.
since we have a conflict today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And this is just a quick overview of what we're doing with PR this year. First, we'll look at last year. I'll wait till this comes up. It'll be a lot easier to look at.
And I will say that M. Silver was just re-awarded the RFP for
We're
the
very
wonderful
grateful
work
for
that they've
that.
been doing. So we're very happy that
I'm very excited
continue.
about it because we had 3 years of building relationships and getting out in the media much more. So having this second period of time to work together with all of you will make such a difference to our results because we're building on a very strong foundation of growth, of awareness and relationships. So just to give a quick look at our 2014 achievements, because we really want to talk much more about what we've got going coming ahead, is that we did get over 1,000 articles that we were able to collect and reached over 756 million people. I had 60 media visits, and the ad value for our work this year was $17 million. So we certainly did get a great ROI for the budget spent, but most of all, it is the caliber of the response, how excited people are about New York State. Taking a look at what we're going to be doing in the coming year is we have such great teams, and public relations is kind of the glue that works together with all of them. So we're working with the digital team as far as the GLOW, which is your social media agency, with Anna, who is your social media leader within ESD, and then we are doing our own social media initiatives, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We also promote our advertising campaigns to get additional mileage, so we'll be supporting all of the advertising campaigns as they come through the year. We do events during the year ourselves for media, and in addition we support events around the state, both those generated by the governor's office and those generated by the regions and departments such as parks or canals. So we support all of that. And of course, way down there at the bottom, we do our ongoing PR activities, which we'll also talk a little bit about in more detail. So it all works together to support New York State. As far as the range of things that we do, obviously we're sending out press releases and pitches. We do more pitches these days because we're trying to talk more personally to each journalist at each publication. Media events take place 4 times a year, about 3 months before a season takes place, because our goal is to generate the stories that will stimulate people to travel, because they're making their plans about 1 to 2 months prior, so we need to get that stuff out in the press. Media trend and media listening. We have added in a component of now listening to what's appearing on particularly broadcast, as well as our ongoing cuttings of articles in print and online. And so what that means is that we have a person every day who's reviewing what has appeared on television and radio in the previous 24 hours in order to inform our social media team and inform ESD of what is being said about New York in real time. Stakeholder relationships is a core of our success. Is one of the things that really built up in the last 3 years is close relationships with all of our regional tourism advisory, with all of our regional tourism people, as well as parks, canals, all of the different components that make New York State great. Strategic Council, as you may know, our agency specializes in tourism on all different levels, whether it's airline, hotel, trains, and destinations. So we do bring our tourism expertise to your think tank of great tourism specialists, and work very closely when there are situations or opportunities for us to take advantage of. Media relations is something we do every day, and just to highlight that, media relations is so much more than it was many years ago, because we talk to bloggers like any other media. In fact, we just had a mommy blogger trip, and they all said, we don't like being known as bloggers. We're journalists just like everyone else, and that's exactly how we treat them. Sending them pitches, sending them on press trips, and working very closely with bloggers. And so many of the top journalists have become bloggers. Wendy Perrin and Jay Clark, and what were formerly editors of newspapers are now top bloggers. Press trips are something that generate the feature coverage. Press trips we do throughout the year. We do group trips that we organize ourselves to highlight different regions. We do group trips to highlight specific events, and particularly the governor's events. And most of all, when we do an invitation for a group, we're going to A-list media. And a lot of them will say, oh, sorry, I'm not available June 11th to 15th. And we say, well, when are you available? Because our real goal is to get these A-list media to travel around the state and write the feature coverage as opposed to the shorter ones that we tend to get through pitching. So that's a very integral part of what we do, and as you can see, we sent 60 media last year, and we were very excited about that. Digital is an important part of our endeavor as well. I'm going to talk about that on the next screen. So that's digital media relations, supporting the GLOW social media company with information about what we're doing in PR, what's going on around the state, information that we get from our stakeholders, from our regions, partnerships, because we're constantly going to them and say, okay, what's coming up? What are new developments? What kind of events are coming up? And then we share that so they can also be posting it. And we also know about the tourism Twitter chats, so we're always informing them about what are the ones that they should participate in from a consumer point of view, while we're working with more of the media and the travel industry point of view. Partnerships and alliances are another way that we stretch budgets. I always think of PR as kind of a taffy pull. So we're always trying to stretch budgets by optimizing the partnerships that are generated through all of you, and by generating partnerships with retail and media companies, as well as our clients at Fin Partners. So we have a lot of clients that we try to bring together. And finally, research and reports. We are constantly researching trends, researching information about the state, what our competitors are doing, and we regularly prepare a monthly activity and clipping report. So sorry that one was a little long, but that's kind of our core of what we do. Next screen. The focus on digital is something that's really expanded for this next 4-year period. So you have a social media agency which is very much consumer facing and dealing with all of the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube that New York State needs to reach out and generate dialogue and awareness with consumers. What we're doing is we are just about to launch an I Love New York Twitter handle, which will be geared for media. And we'll be talking about all of our public relations pitches to try to generate more coverage, our press trips, what's going on in news in order to generate even more coverage, what that means. And we also post the coverage that we achieve. The social media company may then repost some of what we post when it's relevant to consumers. So we have a calendar of posts that we develop for the year, but it's obviously flexible because an awful lot of it comes up that we don't even expect, which fortunately. We share photographs, the media coverage. When we have a press trip, we're also getting all of their Twitter handles in order to make sure that then our social media teams are able to pick up and respond to what the bloggers are saying. Engaging the media with dialogue is something we're doing a lot with social media. We want them to be speaking to us, and we need to be speaking with them. We're also participating in some tourism Twitter chats that the media is involved in. We have a long list of really top Twitter chats. We shared that with Glow, and then we've kind of divided who's going to work on which ones. And then, of course, we repost what is on I Love New York when it's relevant to media. So our blogger and Instagrammer engagement is we are building a group of people that will really be part of our New York promotion. People will be reaching out to regularly. We're evaluating top Instagrammers for the ones who are most influential in the many different fields that New York State speaks to. History, sports, family, outdoor, so many different areas that bloggers specialize in. They're even sometimes more targeted than the print and online media. The bloggers get even more specific. We're also obviously putting bloggers on trips. This weekend trip we just did to the Catskills had all family-oriented travel bloggers. And finally, getting those Twitter handles will mean that we'll be able to see everything that they are posting in the course of the trip, and then our team is writing to them even while they're on the trip in order to generate even more dialogue and encourage them to post even more. And finally, a blog. We're talking to some of the top bloggers that we know very well in order to find a coterie of people who will post things on the I Love New York blog. We are getting them to share more of their photos. So they're on a press trip. We say, share those photos, give us the rights to then repost it, and also to help us to with original content development, because we have some great experts out there who are professional writers. Let's use them. In fact, we're taking all of our press releases, and we're also key press releases, not all of them, and gearing them to blog opportunities. So we are working very closely with Glow. And some of the activities that we have coming up this year, we're changing the structure of our media marketplaces even more. The first ones, we had tables around the room, and we were encouraging media to talk to the regions. It was not about us being up on a stage and speaking at them. The point was to have them speak to our regional specialists. Now, and then the second time around, we brought in a dating style. So we actually set up appointments for them, and particularly the regions. This next one that we're doing in April, on the 23rd, will be at the Classic Car Center. We will have cars behind each of our regions, because the concept is get out on the road, go and explore our state, enjoy the outdoor activities, go to our parks, go to the different regions. So we have cars. All of our regions are creating itineraries. And we even have an interactive function, so people can sit down at an arcade game type of machine and actually drive through some of our regions. So it should be a very exciting activity. And each time we're going to bring more of an interactive quality. Our next one, which will be our fall media marketplace that will take place in July, will have chefs from different regions, because what happens in fall, all of the harvest and the apple picking and it's a great time to focus on a lot of our activities, as well as we own Halloween. Year by year, we're grabbing a hold of Halloween. Travel Classics is a major travel writer event that's taking place in Hudson Valley on May 28th to 31st. We have someone joining us. And before and after, we have pre and post tours all over the state. Adirondack Winter and Summer Challenge, we always support that by sending some media up to it and promoting what's going on. Bassmasters are returning to us again. Fishing is a major endeavor here in New York State. Governor's Cup and Wine Cup, one takes place in the Finger Lakes, one is in Long Island. And we obviously are collaborating with Taste New York and all of our wine, beer, and spirits producers. The State Pride is coming up in June. We support that with our new LGBT website. Ross just participated in the LGBT Expo and spoke to a number of different people, and obviously we'll be supporting the Pride events throughout the state. The Path Through History is one of the major pillars of New York State, with over 500 historic attractions and 2,000 museums. PATH is something that particularly makes my heart go pitter-pat, and is something that is very exciting in every corner of the state. Last year we did getaway days and brought reenactors to Grand Central. This year we are using the commemoration of the Lincoln assassination and the funeral train in order to promote events that are going to take place in New York City at Federal Hall, at Albany at the state capitol, and in Buffalo. So that'll be April 23 through 27 at those three different areas. There's Watkins Glen events in April and September. Again, we're getting those cars out to focus on get on the road, hit the road jack. The Isle of New York bus trips are expanding. We'll be launching our spring schedule at our media marketplace. And the last one there is the LGPA. We are golf. We have almost 1,000 golf courses, more than most countries. And so certainly we support our golf, and next year we have the PGA as well. So lots of exciting activities, and one of the most recent ones, if you go to the next screen, Lisa, was the Igloo event. We had a very experiential media night at the rink in Rockefeller Center in January. We had a focus on top-tier A-list media as well as luxury media, and they just loved it. We got people skating and experiencing winter, just a taste of what we have throughout the state that had never been on the ice before. So they had a very VIP experience, and the whole focus was we have so much going on in winter in every corner. So a lot of exciting events done, and even more to come.
That's terrific.
Thank you.
Any questions for Linda and our PR team? Okay.
Thank you.
So much. You keep up the great work.
Thank you.
So now, with Gavin being in China, I want to introduce Ross Levi, who is Vice President for Marketing Initiatives for Isle of New York.
Christine Betty Little, I finally got on the call. Thank you.
Hi, Senator Little. And also, Nancy joined us. Thank you. Nancy from JetBlue, and there are a couple of more folks here in the room.
George Lentz, Nicholas Lentz.
I love New York. Terrific. Okay, Ross?
Great, thank you. So, there's obviously plenty going on and a lot we could talk about, so we just want to focus on a few particular areas today to bring you all up to speed. One is to talk about events. You got a sense from Linda of a lot that's been going on, but I wanted to dive a little deeper in both some events that we've been doing and ones that are coming up As you'll remember from our discussions last year, events are a very important part of our marketing strategy at I Love New York. It's a real opportunity to get that earned media and PR that Linda talked about. And it's also a really great opportunity for, frankly, direct marketing, one-on-one marketing. We find that, and we find this actually in real data and surveying people after we meet with them at events, that the desire to take a trip in New York goes up exponentially when people even get to spend a few minutes with us at these events, because there's nothing like hearing sort of the enthusiasm of a person who knows how great New York State is and what there is to do, and talking to somebody about their interests and sort of connecting some dots, that you can do that even in just a short period of time, and they leave that event really interested and curious and wanting to know more, and hopefully having downloaded our app and with promotional materials that gives them our website, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to continue to be an important part of our strategy for the upcoming year. We did over 50 events last year, and this year's list of events is equally ambitious, being finalized as we speak. Kudos especially to Lizette Montero, who many of you know and have met, and you've heard her present at past meetings, and her team of Ken Wong and Patrick Drake and a lot of other team members who head up our events and are really the reason we're able to do as much as we do, and why they look so tired, you know, around July or so. So looking at some recent events, you heard about the Winter Media Night at Rockefeller Center, the Igloo event. This was really a chance to, as Linda was saying, it's not only a chance to pitch New York to journalists, but this was frankly also a little bit of a fun chance to say thank you, because journalists were always approaching with asks. They know that, and that's fine, and that's good. We're all doing our jobs. But it was also a little bit of an opportunity to say thank you for paying attention to New York and covering us throughout the year. So it was also a fun event, as well as a chance of being able to continue pitching them and keeping New York as top of mind. The New York Times Travel Show is a huge event for both consumers and for the travel industry. And we've had presence for a few years now, but this really went up to a new level this year. You can kind of get a sense just from this picture that for the first time we had a branded area, the New York State, the Welcome to New York State Row, which invited our partners from around the state, our tourism promotion agencies and others, to join us and be part of a real area, so that when people came to the show, they could very much feel that they were having sort of a virtual walk around New York. And it included all kinds of things from you know, just regions like the Finger Lakes, Capital Region, but also included like haunted history tours and all kinds of other really interesting stuff. We also had some panel seminars where we brought together experts to address both the industry, so journalists and travel agents and group sales agents, and then we had one for consumers as well, so that in a half-hour time they could take kind of a virtual tour of New York State with these folks. We had Meet the Experts, where some of our travel experts got to sit down and were available for a half hour to sit one-on-one with people who want to have discussions. And it went so well that we won an award, actually. The show producers gave us the most innovative award for our presence, so we're very excited about that. Then we got out into the field, as we often do, particularly thanks to the governor, as is often the case. And we were up in the Tug Hill Plateau, up in the North Country, which is one of the premier snowmobiling areas of the nation, perhaps in the world actually, in order to do some announcements around snowmobiling. So it was a day of snowmobiling for industry professionals, journalists, elected officials, other opinion makers, with the governor leading the way. And from what I know it was a cold day, but I didn't get on the snowmobile. I hear it was also an incredibly speedy day. But it got great press coverage, both locally and beyond. And it was also an opportunity to make announcements about how I Love New York is supporting the ski industry. And in specific, what was announced was a free ski weekend, particularly for out-of-staters. I didn't know this before the event, but if you live out of state, you have to register your snowmobile in-state, even if you want to go just for a day. And for a weekend in March, that was waived. So this was a real incentive for people out of state to come and ski and snowmobile here. There also are only 2 local counties, or either towns or counties, that charge to snowmobile. They waived it for that weekend as well. So that was even a benefit for in-staters who normally have to pay a fee there. And we backed that up with an advertising, a digital advertising campaign. and also an announcement of $4 million for trail maintenance so that people could go on really well-kept, well-groomed trails and doing their snowmobiling. So you heard Linda mention about the LGBT Expo. This was back to the Javits Center, the same place the New York Times travel show was. Not on the same scale. It's a smaller event, and it's not travel specific. It's a general consumer event for the LGBT community, but it really brings in people from around the tri-state area. We engaged with about 1,000 people over the course of a weekend. We were part of the Passport Magazine travel show, which was a show within the show, and they are, for those who don't know, a national LGBT travel publication. So we were able, again, to represent our partners and talk to people about New York State. We were able to give out our new I Love New York LGBT Travel Planner, which is a little multi-page brochure, basically, that gives travel tips. And we had special guests. These are the fabulous Beekman Boys, some of you may know from their reality TV show. They were our guests, and they were at our booth for an hour or so, meeting folks and signing autographs and taking pictures. And then they were part of a seminar that we did, again, another half-hour presentation to take folks around New York State and let them see and hear firsthand about all there is to do and see in New York State. Back to the outdoors. In another cold but fun day at the Adirondack Winter Challenge up to Lake Placid. This has been for a couple years now, where the governor has brought, again, elected officials, industry leaders, folks from the tourism industry, certainly journalists, and this year actually special guests from the Capital Region Boys and Girls Club, to come and join for a day of winter activities in the North Country, and a real opportunity to talk about what a gem this is that New York State has in tourism for winter activities in New York State. There was alpine skiing, cross-country skiing, bobsledding, snow tubing. I got to ice fishing. That's right. Jan was out there. I got to curl, which I'd never done before, so that was exciting.
That makes you an honorary Canadian.
Yeah, right. I guess so. And who was anybody up there? Did you make it over there?
No, I
you
did
didn't.
not.
But there was great representation. Hundreds of people that came for the day. Again, these aren't just opportunities to get up there and have journalists write about it, though that's really important. It's also an opportunity to talk about things we're doing to promote the industry. So, for example, it was at the Winter Challenge that the governor announced the Ski New York Spring Break promotion of New York. This was a downloadable coupon for 25% off ski equipment and lesson packages at slopes across the ski. It was also announced various promotions that will be done in the upcoming next winter. I know we don't want to think that far, but next winter, a Learn to Ski month, January, and Discover New York Ski Day for other discounts on a given day. And it was also there that we announced the I Shop New York promotion, which I'll be talking about in one more minute. But before I do that, I also want to talk a little about some upcoming events, not just looking back. Some of them you've heard about in the State of the State, the Bassmasters event, where again the governor will take folks fishing. That will be taking in the Thousand Islands in July, and ahead of that, right here in New York City in Central Park for the opening day of the bass season, Bassmasters is going to be hosting an event in Central Park with demos and competition for to sort of tease the big Bassmaster upstate. We return to the Adirondacks for the Adirondack Challenge in the North Country this summer, and the Governor's Cup Wine Tour, which will be taking restaurateurs, sommeliers, journalists, VIPs, others, to sample New York's great wines. So we'll be doing that both in the Finger Lakes and in Long Island. So that will be coming up in July and August as well. You also heard Linda mention about one of a few Path Through History events that are coming up. One is taking a look at the 150th anniversary of the Lincoln Funeral Train and its huge presence here in New York State, which made 3 important stops. There are going to be events in conjunction with those big stops in Albany, New York City, and Buffalo. There'll also be what's shaping up to be a pretty exciting exhibit at the Capitol on Lincoln, on the Civil War, and New York's connection to those two things. And that will not only be going on just around the anniversary, but will continue into the summer. The Path Through History weekends you saw Linda talk about last year was a very successful event. It was actually 2 different weekends where museums, historic sites all across New York State hosted over 380 events at their sites. And I Love New York tried to bring attention to all of them by dubbing these Path Through History weekends, and then having social media, having earned media, have advertising and other things that back that up. We're doing that again this year, except though it's compacted into one weekend, which makes it easier to market, frankly. June 20th and 21st will be the Path Through History weekend, and we are already starting to communicate with our local partners out throughout the state in terms of what events they are looking to do and how we can maximize the attention to them and boost up the attendance for them. So stay tuned for that. So then the last thing I just want to talk about that I alluded to earlier was the iShop New York promotion, which was announced at the Winter Challenge. This is actually the first time in recent memory that I Love New York has done something specifically connecting tourism and retail, and recognizing that retail is a vital part of New York State tourism. This is particularly true for our biggest international travelers to New York State, which is our Canadian neighbors. Our stats show that 75% of Canadians indicate that shopping is their top activity while traveling in New York. And so we wanted to have a promotion that was going to increase awareness of what a great destination New York State is for Canadian citizens. This is particularly playing upon the fact of the value proposition in terms of shopping in New York for Canadians. That goods purchased here are much cheaper for Canadians. That's partially because of the duty-free tax benefit, which increases the longer they stay here, and also the tax differential, generally 8% versus 13%. This is also being done now. Recognition of the U.S. dollar is now at a disadvantage because of its strength. So it's kind of the double-edged sword in terms of Canadians coming here. But this was a good opportunity to remind them that there is still not only an economic advantage, but in fact we have great shopping for you to take part in. So this was a partnership with the Retail Council of New York State, a short-term promotional effort that would encourage Canadians to visit New York for a shopping getaway. It began this past Sunday and runs through April 6th. And what it is a downloadable coupon, a flex coupon, where you don't know how much it's going to be valued for. It's somewhere between 10% and 50% off your purchase, and you don't know until you get to the site. There's over 300 retailers that are participating. It includes all the Macy's stores across New York State. It includes some Lord & Taylor stores, Build-A-Bear, Yankee Candle, and besides the big name ones, it also includes a lot of factory outlets and a lot of small specialty stores, which are really important. And so while the program is going to be promoted to Canada and is very much about that, this coupon's available to anybody and can be used by anybody. We don't discriminate. And it's being backed up by I Love New York marketing, paid advertising, as well as social and earned media. And actually, we have the commercial we want to show you that's running in Canada right now in Montreal and Toronto.
When it comes to shopping, there's nothing like New York. More stores, more styles, and less taxes. And now, it's even better. Between March 22nd and April 6th, all across New York, stores are offering special discounts to our friends in Canada. Go to iloveny.com/iShopNY. See all participating stores and get a coupon worth anywhere from 10 to 50% off. New York, something special is in store for you.
So like I said, that's running in Montreal and Toronto. We also have digital advertising that's running, and we're maximizing, as Linda says is often the case. It gives us an opportunity to talk about it in earned media and social media with a press release that's one that's gone out and one that's going out today, actually. And we're also going to measure this to make sure it's worth doing, so we can see how we can do it better or whether it's worth doing in the future. So we're going to be the retailers are tracking the coupon sales where possible. We'll provide the percentage of increased sales from the same period the year before. We also have put in place analytics to measure web traffic and coupon downloads, so we'll have some sense of the success of this.
Boss, this is Betty, and since I represent Plattsburgh, I can tell you that shopping is really, really big for the Canadians. They usually discard the clothes they're wearing and, in all new clothes plus their purchases. And I can tell you that TJ Maxx in Plattsburgh has the biggest turnover of any TJ Maxx, I think, ever. So that's a great promotion, and it's going to help all of the border communities as well as people traveling into the entire New York State. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, we were told For example, even as far as Syracuse at Destiny USA, fifth largest mall in America, I think, that they literally have now, I think, bins in their parking lot for Canadians to put their used clothes in, because they literally will wear the clothes that they buy back, because that saves them some of that gets them to bring back more, because it won't fall into the duty level.
And the more days they stay, the more savings they get and the less duty they have to pay.
Right.
So it really has some great opportunities also to encourage travel. Sorry.
Now, the Canadian dollar is getting weaker.
Right.
And how is that affecting what's going on?
Well, I alluded to that. That was one of the reasons why we've actually done this promotion, is we assume the strength of the dollar, not just in Canada, but in general, is going to be a challenge for tourism.
I think it's like 25.
Yeah, but there's still economic advantage for Canadians because of the tax differential, and so we don't know exactly what's going to happen yet, but we recognize that as a possible challenge. It's one of the reasons we launched the promotion, is that we hoped it was going to be an opportunity to remind folks that even if their dollar doesn't buy as much as it did last year, that it's still an advantage. There's now this extra advantage of 10 to 50% off as they're shopping, and there's such great shopping here that they should want to come and take advantage of that. So we'll see.
Value
That's why we're-
added tax is 15%, which is, they add that on at the register. That's a big deal. I was in Montreal not too long ago.
So we hope it'll make a difference, but we'll have the analytics afterwards to be able to find out. And then the last thing to just touch on is the subcommittees, just to do a quick update and let folks know, since particularly because so many of you are on them and heavily involved, you probably noticed that there haven't been any formal subcommittee meetings since we met last as a TAC. Those will be coming up very shortly, so please do stay tuned to your inbox, because we want to give you, as much notice as we can for that meeting, so that should be coming shortly. There have been ongoing discussions with the subcommittee chairs to just sort of solidify what are the next steps in achieving the goals of the subcommittee. So, for example, lodging is starting to talk about putting together a memo that's going to be outlining the challenges, opportunities, and recommendations around the lodging infrastructure for New York State. Transportation, which has a lot of ground to cover, no pun intended, but there's so much that could be addressed through air and transportation, that the next step is really just trying to solidify and clarify what is going to be the focus and outcome of that subcommittee. And sports and events, which is recognizing that it'd be a great idea to meet with the local sports commissions that are around the state. There's a good number of them, just to get a sense of really what is the work that they're doing already, and what are their needs, and how can New York State help support that rather than reinvent the wheel. So expect more details on that in the next time we meet.
Great. Thanks, Ross. Any questions for Ross? Okay. So there are a lot of exciting things that I Love New York is doing on an international front, and joining us now is Markley Wilson, our International Tourism Director, who will give us an update. Thank you for joining us, Markley.
Thank you. ITV is the first item on the list there, and that is the biggest travel industry marketing activity show that takes place in Germany every year. If you look at the continent of Europe, the Germans offer the highest propensity. What's the word?
Propensity.
Thank you. To deliver to upstate New York. They are adventurous. They take the 5 weeks that they get as vacation every year. So this year Gavin and I had a series of appointments at ITV with tour operators, travel agents, and the press to promote traveling to New York beyond the city. In addition to that, we, for the second year, hosted a breakfast for 40 very carefully selected decision makers of companies in Germany that deliver visitors to America. And we gave them an update on what we have been doing. We emphasize the value that we as a state allocate to tourism. And what was also great is that we were able to have NYC and company present as well. So it was a combination state and city presentation to the leadership in Germany. And it ended, of course, with us challenging them to get on the train with us and explore how we can collaborate to increase tourism from Germany to New York State. Even more than we expected turned up for this breakfast briefing. The second item is China. And in June of last year, I Love New York opened offices in 4 cities in China. And the program to implement promoting tourism from China to New York State started then and was highlighted at the governor's conference when the leader of our team there made a presentation on their plans for the coming year. But in addition to that, we did 2 things. One, we brought along 12 tour wholesalers from China. And we also organized a fundraising tour for them in conjunction with a China-ready series of workshops, where in Albany for the Hudson Valley and the Adirondacks, in Utica for central New York, and then in Rochester for the western part, another part of the state, workshops were held, half-day workshops were held, where David Tretetti, who is the former head of the China-America Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai, presented on the culture of Chinese, doing business with the Chinese, with the whole idea of getting our travel industry people to understand the difference between a Chinese visitor, a Chinese tour operator, a Chinese travel agent, and one from, let's say, Texas. And we got great feedback from that. In addition to that, the tour operators who participated in the workshop also presented on how to work with them, and combined with a familiarization tour for our staff as well as these tour operators. Then in between the 23rd and 29th of December, our offices launched the new New York State tourism product in 3 cities in China, in conjunction with the tour operators from China who were on the FAM Tour and China Ready workshops. These operators delivered 21 new tours to New York State as a result of that trip that they took here. And these tours include destinations that many in China have never heard about, and many in New York State have never had promoted in China. The tour that Gavin is on right now is an I Love New York roadshow to 3 cities in China, and there are 15 destination and attraction representatives that are accompanying him and our staff to present the New York State that we never imagined to the Chinese travel industry. The other item is additional source market efforts. We opened an office in Australia at the end of December of last year, and they will really lay out their plan at the upcoming Governor's Tourism Conference. But in a nutshell, we will definitely be doing an Australia-ready tour and workshop, because Australians are different from Brits and Texans. So we're going to get the New Yorkers to understand how to work with Australians, what's different about them, what they're looking for, etc. In addition to that, we are in 2 weeks' time conducting an I Love New York roadshow to Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal, where we're taking, again, destination and attraction representatives on a tour to those cities to make presentations and interact with the travel industry. In the case of Canada, the invitations are being extended by either the ambassador of America to Canada, or in the case of the 2 provinces, 2 cities, Montreal and Toronto, the Consul General of the United States to those provinces is extending the invitation. So it's a combined federal government and New York State invitation to the travel industry there to learn about and connect with us. Yes?
I just thought of something. Right now, the Chinese are really looking at New York universities across the state. My alma mater, St. Lawrence University of New York, and we had, I think, 20 or 30 Chinese students come in last year. Has anything been done to talk about college tourism from China?
There actually is, I know, not just talking about China specific, but there is in general on our website information when visiting colleges and universities on ilovenewyork.com.
Right, but I'm just thinking in particular for China, because there's a huge influx of Chinese students coming to the U.S. right now, and especially New York State seems to be one that's very, very popular. And talking with the Chinese tourism companies to actually set up a New York State college.
It's one of the outcomes of the China Ready workshop, the clear recognition that there's great potential in having college people come here. And we're actually working with the same David who launched that introduction on a program where he is connecting with the colleges here, as well as the companies there, and the people who are seeking to bring their kids here to start increasing the number of Chinese that will come to colleges over here. In addition to that, he's working on the parents themselves, because there's a period between when they're studying and when they're not, when the kids don't seem to have much to do. And he's working in conjunction with the TPAs in Syracuse, Rochester, and Albany to start with, and the colleges and universities in those cities to arrange packages for the parents to come and join their kids while they have time to experience the locations beyond the college. So we're definitely pursuing that. The other two areas that we are pursuing as a result of the workshop is the creation of Chinese language literature in hotels, in attractions, and museums, and in tourist offices. And we are actually facilitating that right now. And the other area of interest that we've identified is the need to invest in America. And we are exploring how we can work with companies there that can bring people here to explore investing in New York State.
That's through the EB-5 program?
That's what it's going to lead to, yes. Yes, sir.
Randy?
Yeah, thank you. Mark, I was pleased to hear that NYC and Company was with you in Germany. Seems very smart. I'm thinking of those, what is it now, 53, 55 million visitors to the city. And it raises a question in my mind, and that is, to what extent are we thinking about, or have we begun to try and focus on those 53, 54 million people, visitors, and pitch either an extended visit to enable them to go anywhere upstate, Long Island, up the Hudson Valley, or farther, or to make a return visit. Because I know that the NYC and Company data has traditionally shown that foreign tourists are especially interested in getting outside of the CBD. They used to say the tourists from Kansas would say, "That's not near Harlem, is it?" Whereas the Japanese and German and French tourists would say, "How do I get to Harlem?" You know, it just seems to me likely that a fair percentage of the foreign visitors would respond favorably to suggestion, as I say, either to extend their visit or to make a return visit to go to other parts of the state.
That is exactly what we're doing, and the majority of the packages that are developed combine the city with the state. It wouldn't work otherwise, let's face it. In addition to that, though, we've just entered a marketing partnership with NYC and Company, whereby their staff will, where possible and not creating a conflict, mention and suggest New York State for those who are interested as against Texas or Pennsylvania. Part of that is going to be an online training program, which they already have for the city, which will now be introduced to promote New York State as well. And that's pretty extensive. In addition to that, the partnership will include participation in some shows that they go to, and they are in 27 countries. So they'll be also promoting New York State in conjunction with the city at these shows.
And
so,
that's great.
And I think, Randy, you picked up on something that NYC and Company talks about, which is the idea of one of the vested interests for them is this idea of expanding beyond New York City, including for visitors coming from overseas, creates return trips. You know, in the same way that the first time somebody from the States goes to London or Paris, they're not necessarily going to get out into the English or French countryside. It's on that repeat trip that they want to come back, yes, come back to that city they love, but now what else is there? So for New York City and Company, talking about the Hudson Valley and Long Island and the Catskills and whatever is a really great way of saying to their visitors for overseas, by all means come back to the city. You know you can't see it all anyway, come on back. And while you're here are these other great things for you to see as well.
We found that this addition of something in New York State, particularly for those who have special interests, it actually, for the travel industry, in some cases enables them to get new customers, and in many cases help them to delight their customers even more. The combination of the city and some unique, like skiing in New York State and shopping in the city.
How do we, if someone's coming here for a week, which is probably a typical vacation, how do we, I mean, there's 2 weeks of things to do in New York City without even thinking about going outside. So how do you incentivize them to take away from, you're going to need at least 2 days to go somewhere, right? So how do we incentivize them? Is it working with the local hotels up there and saying, hey, you'll get, because most of them are cost conscious, so if you get an extra, I know my cousin's from Denmark, if you get a free hotel room somewhere, they'll go up there. So how do you work with the existing industry up there and say, hey, you know, extend your day, your vacation 3 days, or take 2 days and your hotels are free, or something like that, or 50%? Because you got to motivate them to get up there, because they all they hear in the world is New York City.
Well,
and now we've got to educate them and then pull away from that New York City experience. How do we do that without giving them something?
if it's the first time they're coming, it's a waste of time because they want to do the typical things. But what we've found is that the second and the third time they're visiting, then they're open to other ideas. And we have found that focusing on their special interest is what works. For instance, if we offer a vacation for a family, if we offer a vacation for people who are into shopping, if we offer a vacation for people who are into fishing, as he mentioned, if we focus on a special interest and show them how they can experience that in addition to the city, then it's working.
And also, you know, the international visitation is what Markley's been focused on, and those visitors are here for 14 days and more, usually. You know, as he was mentioning, the Germans have a 5-week vacation. They're very rarely here for just a week. You know, the folks from Chicago may come in for 5 days or from the U.S., but so that's why they've been focusing so much more on international. And to Randy's point, I have to say I haven't seen this kind of collaboration with NYC and Company since right after 9/11. And
You
I'm
can
really
appreciate it
proud. Well,
especially.
I'm really proud of what the folks here with Gavin and Markley and Ross, the whole team, what they've put together. And you know, keep in mind, the budgets for both are usually not in sync, right? So now, you know, I Love New York and the governor, he's been putting so much focus on I Love New York, and NYC and Company's budget, is, you probably saw, is starting to go down. So it really makes sense for them to help each other, you know, and to be marketed together at these trade shows really is a powerful message and a clear one, and helps answer a lot of the questions with the wholesale operators. Before we move off international, in your packets you do have Gavin's itinerary. I just want you to take a peek at it. I'm exhausted just reading it, but you know, he's meeting with like 50 reporters and, you know, 75 or so, yeah, tour operators, and they're one-on-one meetings. And I just know from being at these travel shows, it is mind-boggling and exhausting. And for some reason, he just feeds off of it. He loves it, you know, and he's got a wonderful team. He's got the 12.
Is this his first one he's doing?
To
Yeah,
China,
it's
yes.
the first one in China.
It's our first
First,
time
I Love New York
we're in
roadshow
China.
to China.
What kind of group goes with him to support?
Well,
Just
you want to mention some of the partners
It's
that we have?
we have Syracuse, we have someone from the Adirondacks, we have a variety of different attraction people, as well as some of the tour operators who are actually there are also touring to promote their products. But it's all New York City and New York State.
Before we get off that, getting the visitors out of New York City, I think one of the biggest problems is transportation, and whether we can package transportation for them or do something that promotes transportation or discounts it or something like that. Once they're here, they don't, and you get upstate, there isn't a lot of public transportation.
And accommodation, that's your line.
Betty, one of the good news pieces of that is New York by Rail, which is its own private not-for-profit, but they work closely with I Love New York, is just now marketing. For $90, you get a round-trip ticket anywhere along the Amtrak corridor going to Montreal from New York. So, and it's just an easy way. So for $45 each way, basically you can go all the way to Niagara Falls if you want to take that ride. God bless you. Or if you want to go to Albany, or if you want to go to so they're doing a strong push on that, and I think it's a terrific incentive to really see the state by train. And do we have transportation partners with us in China? Do we have any of the bus companies?
Yes. We have LNL, which is the #1 producer of Chinese visitors to New York State.
Okay.
They are very much in with us. In fact, they are right there right now on the tour.
Great.
Okay, obviously, transportation and accommodations are both important issues, which is why we have the subcommittees, delving into that. One small piece of the puzzle for the transportation piece also is the I Love New York bus. So, for example, we're working, Rowena is starting to talk to the Concierge Association here in New York City to make sure they have information about the I Love New York bus and the tours they're offering, because that's really well made for somebody who's visiting from somewhere else to say, hey, if you want to do something, you get on the bus, you do the day trip, even if it's an overnight, there's already accommodations built in, so that can help be a part of it as well.
There's the Amtrak, Tony Kosha there. I mean, maybe at some point someone should reach out to him as well. He's very accessible and he loves to do something. He's been there for a couple of years now. I mean, I took the train you were talking about from New York City all the way through Montreal during October, the foliage season. It was great. They turned into that bubble train up in Albany. I mean, that's a full day. I did not go out to Niagara because it was full. It was a sleeper train. This is 2 summers ago, and it was sold out 2 months earlier. So maybe we can talk to him about adding capacity if it is full. I mean, that is not the most efficient run organization, but if he focuses, he's right in New York City. He's an attorney at a law firm here. He's the chairman. So I think Tony Kosha should be looped in. He's also trying to get bikes on Amtrak.
Yeah,
you can put bikes on Metro.
That's amazing.
Just to put bikes on Amtrak, it's been like a 2-year process in Albany. I mean,
Five years I've been working on it. It's crazy.
Yeah, so, but Tony's very plugged into, trying to help out. He was appointed by Obama to head up Amtrak. He's a very powerful person. He's right here, and he has no problem coming to these meetings. So we should loop him in.
Why don't we'll invite him to an upcoming TAC meeting. Our next TAC meeting is going to be during the governor's conference, tourism conference. Tentatively scheduled for May 13th. We should know within a week or 2, and that will be in Albany.
Okay.
So
he's very
we can
friendly
do
to the governor,
Tony
too, so
maybe the next one or anytime. For the TAC members, any new business that you would like to share with the committee? Updates?
I guess I'd just like to certainly compliment the reach out to Canada. I mean, we've seen a little bit of a blip in our business in Canada this year. It's been down a little bit because of the exchange, but Canadians still are coming across the border. They're still shopping and they're still skiing. So, I don't think we should discount that just because the exchange rate isn't as good as it was 12 months ago. Doesn't mean they won't come here. So.
I think what we should do is, and obviously you have a good relationship with the governor as well, so I think you should potentially talk to him, because there are so many governors of states that come to New York City to promote business and to promote tourism of their state, and they're right in the Hyatt, they're right in our heart, and they're stealing our people away.
Money out of
and
our state.
that brings a lot of attention when a governor goes, and I know he's fully decked out until the budget's done at the end of April, but I think if you can pick up big states, whether it's Florida or Pennsylvania or California, and maybe there's an international trip, pick something where he can promote with the ESD and the tourism side together. And when it's a big thing when the governor goes over, especially a notable one like this one, that potentially could be a presidential candidate in 8 years or what have you. Because I mean, you got governors coming here stealing our business, so why not do the other way around? It's a big media thing when the governor goes there.
Well, he has a big trip on his schedule for April 20th into a new market, which is Cuba. So that's
okay, but that's
that'll
bringing
be
Cubans up
interesting.
here, and the money's a little,
even know how many Cubans would be able to travel if
Yeah,
it would
I
be reversed.
think
It's more of an export
I
thing.
think this
but-
is like a Florida, California, Texas maybe, or Canada trip, and then maybe go to, at some point in the future, China or Europe, whatever, but that brings huge, I mean, you can't buy the media, that's a, pay for the media that
Yeah.
would bring. And he has a small group of private meetings with businesses for the ESD, then he does the tourism side. That's just, I mean, it would save the governor a lot of money because of the free publicity he would get by going there. So I think that's something maybe we should focus on too. It's
Raise
tough to
it
get
with,
him on.
Howard's in.
And given that he's so promoting this himself, I think.
Okay. Do we have any other business suggestions?
Do another
Or am I-
roll call on the
Oh,
phone.
anybody join on
Attendance.
the phone? Since we
Yes.
started.
I'm on the phone and have been very encouraged by the New York City and Co. and New York State collaboration. Could be fruitful and economically feasible for both of you.
Thank you, Barbara Lee.
And this is Spike. I'm on too from Geneva.
Oh, great. Spike, you've got a lot of things going on. You've got a big conference in Philly. You want to share with us what you're doing?
Yeah, just quickly, I'm really excited with our New York Cultural Heritage Tourism Network. We had our symposium last Thursday at Colgate University, had 107 people talking about building bridges to the future for the Erie Canal 200th anniversary and also for the 100th anniversary of the women's rights and suffrage and the women's right to vote in 1917. So we're looking good and trying to put the educational programming together for the women's rights and heritage. And secondly, just to touch on what Mark Lee said about putting packages together, we're working with Visit Syracuse and Syracuse University to do just that. So I'm quite excited about the opportunities that are going to be coming into Central New York for packaging, both for students, but more so for those that are bringing families with them looking at schools and colleges. So we're including Cornell, Lemoyne, a number of others in Central New York area.
That's great. Okay. Eleanor's smiling. All right.
I'll just, this is Jan Chesterton. I'll just give a quick update on behalf of the Tourism Industry Coalition. 2 weeks ago, from an advocacy perspective, 2 weeks ago we had our annual lobby day in Albany. We brought the industry together, the tourism professional and leaders from around the state, the CVBs and the TPAs, and we had a great turnout. We had the Lieutenant Governor address the group in spite of her earlier mishap in Lake Placid 2 days earlier. Shows that she was quite the trooper and certainly supporting of tourism. We had Senator Little, thank you again for addressing the group, and Assemblywoman Markey, both of which head up the respective tourism committees. And we went out into the halls and had our office visits with our designated legislative elected officials. We were very well received on all of our issues, from supporting the efforts of Gavin and his team and ESD for the I Love New York, as well as the matching grants, and some individual, and I'm just kind of reading the minutes from last week and our last meeting, and it looks like Commissioner Adams touched on a couple of the items that we talked about last week as well. So that's something that we do every year, and it's growing. We had a great turnout and really well received by the legislators. So a lot of positive buzz in the legislative buildings and the Capitol when it came to tourism. So just an update.
That's great. I have a question, Thurman. I don't know if you've heard, but when I was up at Lake Placid for the Adirondack Challenge, there seems to be a lot of talk about possibly doing an Olympics again up in Lake Placid. Is this?
I was just there Friday and heard the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can speak to that because there's a group, and we've talked about it for a long time. At one time, we had several $1 million set aside when Governor Pataki was leaving, and we have a sports commission. But at the time, the Olympic organization was not willing to support a U.S. Olympic bid in the North Country. So we're at it again, and it would have to be larger. But as we look and see that the existing Olympic venues sometimes are trying to get away from spending billions of dollars and just creating new Olympic sites all over the world to utilize what they have in their country and to go with that. And we could either expand it to a much, much larger part of New York State, and the other thought is to look at doing it with Montreal and having a international Olympic site. But definitely it is in the works where, of course, it wouldn't be until the 2020-something or something like that. But whatever we do, it keeps Lake Placid and New York State in the news, and that in itself is important.
Well, whatever we can do to be supportive, Betty, let us know. And when you have more information, if you want to make a presentation, we'd love to hear more about it.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so I think that concludes our meeting. Do I have a motion to be adjourned?
Is there a timing of the timing of the various committee reports, the final reports to be submitted?
We're hoping to have another meeting between now and the next TAC meeting, because we want to be able at the TAC meeting, which the governor will be, part of the governor's tourism conference, we'll be able to give more of an update and, a working plan, what we're calling for. So probably in the next couple of weeks, it have to be.
Oh,
Because that's
for
May
sure.
13th, yeah. Okay. All right. Motion, I got to put the time in there, right, Lisa? Mm-hmm. It's 12:08. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thanks, Ellen. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, have a great time. We are now adjourned.